Hello. We are live right now. Presumably, I'm using a new software to go live, so hopefully we look a little bit better, maybe a little bit more in focus, maybe a little bit more of a higher quality. So what we're going to do now, what the purpose of this live stream is because what we wanted to do today is talk about our recent trip to California and just sort of break it down a little bit, just talk about our favorite parts, maybe some of our least favorite parts, just our general itinerary, just what we did that we want to do again, or maybe what we want to do different next time. So we're going to go and start talking about that. If you're watching this on the replay, then hello there. I hope this is something interesting for you to listen to at some point in the future. Utilizing a new software, I'm very unfamiliar with it, so hopefully this works out okay.
Yeah.
We're starting to see some comments, so
There
that
we
is
go.
great. This live stream is going to be very much so limited to our just general California experience because I just finally finished editing those videos, and I just wanted to have a little bit of closure with that, just sort of talking about our entire cohesive experience. So there's a lot of theme park news, obviously, that's happened in the time since we've gone to California and gotten back, so we'll get to that at some point.
Two things, since this is like new software that you're using, if there's like any feedback on y'all's end to give us so we know like what's going on, just let us know. And then also the comments, I think when we tested it, were coming in like 30 seconds after the fact. So if it takes us a minute to get to comments or whatever, that's why.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit delayed right there. Also trying to check out the, nice. the focus of the camera. I have it to be tracking on our faces, but I don't know. It's probably going to be tracking someone's face
Yeah, I
at
think
the same
it's
time.
tracking Roy's more.
It was tracking yours at the beginning of this. So hopefully we sound okay using these microphones with these color-coordinated cords that I'm very proud of because my favorite color is red. Brennan's favorite color is blue.
Yeah.
So I think it works out. And I think if we talk directly into them, hopefully then you won't have too much of an issue hearing us. I'm using an interface as well. This is an entire new setup that hopefully will pay off. And I'm using an older camera with the Sigma lens that does pretty well with the bokeh behind us clearly. But yeah, so thank you so much for everybody just joining us. This was very random and impulsive to want to do this, but again, this is a live stream that I just wanted to do. It's sort of fun to do that, in my opinion, if there's like a big trip that we go on and there's just what we want to talk about, or just like maybe just memories that we want to just share with each other, because I think we could surprise each other with just like maybe memories that we enjoyed the most, or maybe like experiences or attractions or rides or places that we did not like.
Yeah.
So-
But what's your favorite ride at Disneyland?
What is my favorite ride at Disneyland
Yeah.
that we did, or just in general?
So Dan was the one that asked, do you want to know what our favorite ride is at Disneyland or all of like Disneyland California Adventure?
Like the Disneyland Resort versus Disneyland in particular.
Yeah.
I'd presume like Disneyland, like resort in general. Hopefully this is okay. I'm like talking directly into the mic and you're kind of like off to the side a little bit. So
Can you guys hear me?
if
Is
it's
just
not
the same?
too different, then I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I
too
didn't
much.
want to.
I think it makes me feel like a cool radio host if I talk into the microphone like this.
I didn't want to talk like this, so I just, putting it off to the side. So as long as you can, as long as you can hear me the same.
Everyone has their own microphone aesthetic. Okay, favorite Disneyland ride.
If we're thinking Disneyland, probably Matterhorn, just because it's a fun thrill ride and we don't have it at home, which we didn't get to do this trip. I'm
Yeah,
very
that
sad.
was definitely a bummer, but just with any trip you plan anywhere, there's always going to be that attraction that you don't get to do. There's going to be some sort of a refurbishment or some sort of ride closure or some sort of entertainment offering that's just not going to be available. So, you can't, it's very hard to go to a place where every single attraction is available. And then we also went right before Memorial Day.
But what is your favorite attraction?
I'm giving myself the time to think about it.
If it's California Adventure, mine's Tobaters, 100%. It makes me giggle so much, and that's why I like it.
I can give a hot take on what is not my favorite ride.
Is it the Nemo?
No.
Oh.
Mission Breakout.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you implying that's your least favorite ride?
Not that it's my least favorite ride, but so many people have so much hype over Mission Breakout, And to me, it's just like it's okay.
I
think
think
just
it's
it's
fun.
yeah. So yeah, that sort of ride system, what they did for that ride system is
Mhm.
phenomenal, and it is very cool. I think maybe I'm just not a fan of the rides that just kind of bounce you up and down, sort of like that.
That's fair.
As far as like the thrill, like that, and even Tower of Terror, like they're not my go to attractions to like. I don't know, and I do think that it is a lot of fun. It was an improvement over their version of Tower of Terror,
Yeah.
but it's by no means like if we went back and we did not ride it again, I'd be like, all right, whatever, cool.
It's very similar to Tower of Terror to where I don't feel like I need to do it every time we go, but it's fun enough as its own version of itself that like I think it makes it cool.
But I gotta give an answer for my favorite attraction. So
Yes.
I want to go to like Indiana Jones, but honestly, I think I kind of more so. Okay, Arlo's taking plushes off of the wall behind me. I think maybe like one of the dark rides, like in the back of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Wait, in the back of the park?
like in Fantasyland, like in Disneyland, like maybe Pinocchio's Daring Journey.
I'm so hippie.
I don't know. I just definitely rides that we do not have that they have.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed that they have rides that are superior to the versions that we have here, but that does not mean that it's my favorite attraction that they have. Indiana Jones is obviously phenomenal and so much fun, but yeah, it might have to be just like the dark rides. If I can just like clump the Fantasyland dark rides together, because they don't really have that long of a wait the majority of the time, you know?
Yeah.
You can just kind of consider that one area, even though it's multiple attractions, but like the Fantasyland, Disneyland dark rides, I think I look forward to the most whenever we go.
Nice. Logan wanted to know when we actually got back from this trip.
Okay. So we left, like, I think it was May 19th, and then we got back May, I want to say 25th, right? It was that Friday to that following Thursday, I think, that we ended up going. So obviously it's a little bit of a delay in terms of editing these videos together, but I've been slowly trying to recover my, like, all the videos that I've been making because I, for some reason, went to Guatemala and then Disneyland kind of back to back, and just recovering from that. Just that is a lot of video footage to go back through, but it's been fun.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just going through the comments right now to make sure we don't miss anything. Someone wants to know how our rooms were.
Okay. So yeah,
Is that where you want to start? Because we were just going to go through our whole trip, so we can start with just like the hotels and accommodations and the travel, and then we can go to each park that we went to.
I was thinking we could like just literally go through the week that we had, sort of, and just kind of encounter.
Okay, yeah, because I'm hearing
what
about
we did.
Our travel, the Spider-Man animatronics, pirates, just all of that stuff. So
Okay, so
how do you want to do this?
let's just start from the beginning.
Do you guys think we're too close to the mics?
See, I can either like get off of the mic, or I can like actually adjust I might just pull my gain back here on the interface.
So you can stay that nice radio host.
Yeah, because I'm just loud. See, it wants to focus on me the whole time, but that's because I'm just like on the mic right now, and it's tracking our faces.
I do see I'm calling you out and that you wanted us to visit like other places. I think we talked about it on this trip that this might be our last theme park focused trip, and then our next trip may be more focused on just like California stuff, and then we'll go back to like the parks and stuff. So we definitely talked about like exploring California as a state the next time.
Definitely, because I've just like I've been out to California like not multiple times, but just like in the past I've we've enjoyed like the Sequoia redwoods and just like the national parks. My family was a huge national park family, and just
my mom is in the chat. She says no, it's all good. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate your feedback. Love you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
We had lunch with them earlier today.
We did. We had lunch
early Father's Day
with my parents for Father's Day. We had a nice afternoon.
Went to the Icon Park. Anyway, so we can sort of like, let's just start with where we began the adventure, which was when we flew out of the airport. This I think I was most proud of, because I've done the planning of all of our California trips every time that we've gone, and I think I've gotten a little bit better at it.
Yep.
Every time that we've gone, not to like brag about it, but that's sort of the goal, right? Like you want to,
Roy is the planner, so I give him all that.
well, you want to
credit.
like identify like what maybe was not the most convenient, or maybe what could have been better, like a previous trip, and then sort of try to calibrate like how can you improve that, like, or make it more convenient, but then at the same time not necessarily have to like pay the premium for, that improved experience.
Yeah,
Because
the
for
whole
me,
point
that's the
is,
challenge, is to like
how do we
budget.
do all of this stuff but for cheap?
Yes, but not like super cheap, but like, I don't know. Just it's like a fun budgetary challenge for me. So what I wanted to do, because there was I was aware of the new Breeze Airways one-way flight into and out of John Wayne Airport, which I'm so glad that we did that, and I will 100% want to do that again because it was just so convenient and comfortable comparatively to LAX. But we did sort of the opposite this time. What we've done previous trips, we flew into LAX, but every other time we've always gone to Disneyland first. And then if we went to Universal Hollywood, it's sort of been like an afterthought, or it's been like we'll figure out what day that we want to do that, or we'll do that towards the end of the trip. And we've always only ever had like a hotel near Disneyland property, and just somehow just gotten to and from Burbank to Hollywood to go to Universal. But I thought this time, because Universal was actually a massive priority, it might have been more of a priority than Disneyland
For
me.
sure, because we wanted to go see Nintendo.
Yes, so Nintendo Secret Life of Pets, just like that park is just transformed, and Jurassic World, just so many different rides and experiences, and that like it was such a new and different experience. So that was like a massive priority. And then last time too, we thought about doing the Warner Brothers tour that we didn't get to do. So that's every trip though, and I've sort of enjoyed that, where it's like, you could be sort of disappointed not getting to do what you would have wanted to do this trip, or you can just make that mental note and try to come back and do it in the future. That happens every time, and that, I always have that takeaway after like a big vacation or experience where I get sad, where I'm just like, oh no, we didn't get to ride this, we didn't get to go to this park, we didn't get to eat here, and...
But the point is we can always go back.
Yes. It took a little while for us to go back this time, but we made it back.
Okay, but the COVID and everything, so like...
So,
we enjoyed Breeze Airways, like a lot.
yeah. But so we flew into LAX because we wanted to go to Universal, we wanted to go to Warner Brothers, and I thought we could do that at the beginning of the trip, and then drive over to Disneyland, and then fly out of John Wayne, which was like 15 minutes away from Disneyland, and it just fly a direct flight, a nonstop flight out of Orange County back to Orlando, and that worked out really, really well.
It really
that we didn't have to go
did.
back and forth at all. We just had the first part of our trip in Hollywood, and then the second part of our trip in Anaheim.
Well, and to be fair, like we never put that much emphasis on the Hollywood side of things before. It was always just a day trip for us, but like we really wanted to enjoy our time in Hollywood this time, so I think flying in straight from there really worked out for us.
Which I definitely still, not that it's like a regret, but like I still wish we could have explored Hollywood even more.
Yeah.
There's always this like kind of...
But it gave us a taste. It gave us a taste to want to come back and actually do that part.
I have this stigma where it's like, if I'm going all the way out to California, like I have got to prioritize that time. I need to be able to go to these theme parks and do everything that I wanted to do because, here I am. I need to do it. I'm here, right? So to have that like sort of leisure time to explore and to walk around and to do, something that is not specifically a theme park or like an attraction or a tourist alternative, I don't want to waste my time, so.
But we got to do new things. We got to see the Chinese theater, which is really cool.
Well, the first day.
It was all about Fast and Furious on our trip.
Yeah. Well, the first day we flew into, see, we're bouncing everywhere because we're excited, but we flew into LAX, and then I think this was probably the worst part of our trip.
It was the car rental place.
Was renting a car, because we had to take a shuttle to get to the car rental place, which is what we've done before. It always takes a little while, but that's what's taken a long time before, is just that shuttle to and from LAX because of the traffic. But then we had to wait 2 hours to get our rental car.
And that was with a reservation. So it was a 2-hour wait of everybody who had reservations. Like, I don't know what the system was, but I know some people in the comments were just like, oh, that's why you gotta like reserve it in advance. Like, you did. And it was like 2 hours worth of people who did exactly what we did and reserved in advance. So we even asked the guy, and I do want to commend like all the people that worked there, because I kept.
Sorry.
Is that good?
No.
Oh, what?
Oh, just beer break.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I saw this new Schaffhofer Hefeweizen, and I love these. And this one's watermelon mint.
Oh, the aftertaste is weird.
I don't like it.
Anyway, I kept noticing everybody in line. Like, we were all waiting 2 hours, and everyone's so frustrated in line, obviously. But everyone was leaving with smiles, and I'm like, what's happening once everybody gets to the counter where everyone's leaving with smiles? And then I realized, like, everyone that
They were
worked
really
there,
nice.
everyone that worked there was so nice and so calm and so understanding. And again, we left with smiles. Like, we were cutting it up with the guy giving us our car and everything, and I was like, okay, I get it. Everybody here's just really nice.
It was a demand, you know.
Yeah.
It was a weekend coming upon a holiday weekend, and you know there was a long line, and just the legal process of renting a car, you know, isn't just ordering a burger, you know, and fries. It's an entire process of, you know, insurance, and so it took a long time. So that was sort of a bummer, because it was like, wow, like we got here like early in the afternoon, and we spent the whole afternoon just getting a rental car. Like, should we have just, you know, taken an Uber or something?
No,
but
it was worth it.
Yeah, but we needed a rental car just to get around LA. I
wouldn't get that car again.
Oh no.
I never felt more old than getting in that sports car.
Oh, because it was so low to the ground.
It was so low to the ground. Every time we got in and out, it was just like,
ugh! It was fun to drive. I mean, I don't have a preference of car rentals. I mean, anything with air conditioning is a step up from the car that I currently have right now. But we don't have to talk about that.
My mom will talk about that.
Yeah, I know. So our first stop was In-N-Out, and that was great. And, you know, everyone can make fun of that as much as they want, but it's just sort of a fun, stupid California West Coast staple for us to enjoy.
It's a good burger. Like, I know you can probably get desensitized to it if you have it all the time, but we don't. The animal style is something that's unique to us.
Do West Coast people come over here and they're just like, oh my God, Chick-fil-A. I'm so excited.
Probably.
I don't know. It's a fun sort of novelty for us at this point.
Yeah.
And I'll still never live down our first trip when we did not go to In-N-Out Burger, because that was the trip we went to Universal Hollywood. I won't live it down. We went to Universal Hollywood, and that was the trip that we Ubered to and from Universal Hollywood. And I don't need to get into it too much, but like, so that entire first trip, that was a mess, because I set up a shuttle service to take us from the airport to our hotel in Disneyland that was going to pick us up and take us back to LAX. And then we Ubered to and from Universal Hollywood. So it was a lot of just like, you know, pricey ride-share alternatives, and that ended up making me want to rent a car for our next trip. But that trip, when we Ubered to and from Universal Hollywood, we wanted to get In-N-Out Burger, and I fell asleep.
You did?
I fell asleep really hard because I was just exhausted, and this was sort of like when we first started dating a little bit. Like,
it was within our first year of dating.
Yeah,
our first trip to California.
To where maybe like Brennan would have been a little bit uncomfortable with, like, you know, waking me up to get In-N-Out, versus now she would like grab me by the shoulders and be like, let's get In-N-Out, like, wake up. Maybe, I don't know. I wish you did, because I would have loved In-N-Out that first trip.
I think we made up for it on our second trip though, and
yeah,
I think we went 2 or 3 times on our second trip, and we went twice this trip.
So. Yeah, so we've been making up for it.
We're good.
And then we went to the hotel, so it was sort of a bit of it was kind of nice where, like, a blessing in disguise, I guess, that our car rental took that long, because by the time we actually made it to Hollywood, our room was ready. You know, it was check-in time, because I was a little bit worried about that, because we flew in because of the time change.
Yeah, we didn't have
time
any
zone
plans.
difference. You know, we got there a little bit after noon, but because it took so long to get the car, and then the distance that it took just to drive through, you know, Los Angeles, we got there right around the time that we needed to check in to the hotel. So we did, and I think you took a little nap or something like that, probably. Whenever we had like a minute of downtime.
I love naps.
Brennan took a nap, and then I would edit, because this entire past 2 months I've been just trying to catch up on editing and stuff. So once we did that, we decided to go to CityWalk.
Yeah, which I appreciated that, because we never took advantage of CityWalk before. Like, we love CityWalk here, and we love having it as like an amenity to use here when we just want to have like a nice date night, or like a little reason to have a video or whatever and go out. And we never really took advantage of it here. The only thing I was disappointed in with the California CityWalk is that a majority of their restaurants in the past few years have been overhauled to restaurants that we already have here. So there wasn't a lot of places that I was like excited to go to, which is why I think we ended up going to like Pizza Hut and the Pink's hot dogs, which is fine because I love me some personal pan Pizza Hut pizza. It is like one of my main guilty pleasures in life. So I was very happy regardless. But it was cool. I think just kind of how we enjoy going to CityWalk here and having dinner and having a couple drinks and exploring around and walking around until it's time to go home. Like, I do want to go back and do that there too. It would be cool.
I agree. I think that was sort of a cool, just like, I like to, that there wasn't sort of like an urgency to go to the theme park so that we could actually just go to CityWalk, just to go to CityWalk. Mm-hmm. Like, that was our entire objective of that, evening, which was, let's just go to CityWalk, have dinner, and walk around. And that was so nice to, like, for me personally, just how I am with planning, to allot myself and give myself that sort of permission to be able to just relax. And that's what I'm doing that night. We're not trying to sprint inside, Universal Hollywood to ride, as many rides as we could in the last 30 minutes of the park being open or something ridiculous. It was just, no, we're here. Today was just about getting to California and checking into our hotel, having some dinner, and exploring CityWalk.
Power-up vans.
Yes, which ended up being a very smart idea, I think, for the following couple days after that. So that was the first day. Woo. So then the next day was Warner Brothers, and again, we wanted to do this. I don't know if we thought about doing it the first time that we went. I think the first time that we went to Universal Hollywood together. Mm-hmm. Just in that overlook from one of the escalators, just sort of seeing all the other studios that are nearby. Mm-hmm. It was just sort of cool. It was like, oh, there's the Warner Brothers studio. Yeah, and then just knowing that they have a tour, and then the second time that we went, just sort of seeing, what sort of a tour that they do have, and just being very excited about at some point doing that, because, Friends and Harry Potter, just a lot of pretty iconic Warner Brothers shows. That not all of them were filmed on the lot, obviously, but just being able to go and take that tour just to see what it's like and how it's different. I don't know. So that was exciting. That was a priority. And what was super neat, and how I actually did not plan for this, really, is that I used Expedia for the hotels that we stayed in. It wasn't too obvious. The hotels that we stayed in were not the most extravagant, not very, I don't know, they weren't some beautiful suite facing a beautiful body of water or a gorgeous garden or something like that.
No, but they served their purpose. We knew we weren't going to be staying in the rooms that often, so we didn't need anything luxurious. We just needed something safe and clean to sleep in at the end of the day.
Right. And if we had intended to stay on property to really take advantage of more amenities, there's puppy butt.
There's a puppy butt.
Then, we would have done that. That would have been the priority. But this was, and it sort of is the case every time that we've gone, where we do prioritize the activities and the attractions that we do, And I'd like to take it to that comfortable place. And I think that's why we like to do staycations here, because we really do get to enjoy the resorts. There's not this urgency that we have to spend every second inside Universal Orlando when we stay at Sapphire Falls.
Yeah, it's that relaxing point.
Yeah, we spend a day, maybe that's our big theme park day, but then maybe the day before or after, it's sort of just enjoying the resort and the pool and whatever restaurants that they have. But when I did Expedia, it was just sort of just by a price range that I was just looking into of what would best sort of fit the budget, because we did plan this a couple weeks before we actually went. So as far as,
it was very last minute.
Yeah, as far as the price of what we probably could have paid if we planned this much further out, maybe it was a little bit more hiked, but I just wanted to try to do the most reasonable room, in terms of how far we were from the parks that we were going to go to, whether we were going to, walk or whatever. And that ended up really working out. The Hollywood, I don't remember the specific prices, but the Hollywood hotel that we stayed in was significantly more expensive than the Anaheim one was, which was
That was weird because
interesting.
the Anaheim one was just so close
It
to
was
the
right
parks. It was
there.
within walking distance.
It's like 5-minute walk away from Disneyland, but then
Although
Hollywood.
the one that we stayed in Hollywood was also pretty. It was in a good location. Like it was right next to Warner Brothers, and it was like right behind Universal. So we just had to drive around. So both hotels were in a great location.
Yeah, which is why that was like sort of the pleasant surprise is that we were so close to Warner Brothers that we just walked to Warner Brothers to do the Warner Brothers studio tour. We did like just the generic studio tour because there are different tiers of different tours you could do with Warner Brothers, but we did just the 1 hour guided tour with the follow up of being able to go through the various like interactive
Which I really
exhibits.
liked it.
Yeah, it would have been cool to like maybe get a little bit more of like a in-depth experience sort of on the lot that they have there, but
Yeah.
for what we got to see and the knowledge that we were told and the stuff that we got to see that we weren't allowed to film, and I've looked into it, and I guess other people have been able to film in the past, so I don't know if they changed their film rules, but she was very very strict about that, and she said if you take videos or pick like if you take videos, then I'm obligated to take your phone and delete them off of your phone personally.
I don't think that's a thing, but
I don't know. It worked for me. I was like,
not like I
okay,
tried.
no videos. Oh, sorry.
something outside of like
Not that I tried to take videos. It was very forward and upfront about the,
No.
what type of a tour that it was and what they requested of people.
Something that was cool that we did get to see kind of that was like outside of the theme park spheres. We did get to see like some people picketing outside of Warner Brothers for the writer's strike going on. So it was cool to see just celebrities that I follow on social media posting their pictures of picketing outside of some studios, but to see it in person. And then now when I see those pictures, I'm like, oh wow, now I know exactly where they are. Like because I still follow the cast of Pretty Little Liars on Instagram, and they just went out there a couple days ago and they were picketing outside of Warner Brothers, and I was like looking at all the pictures and I'm like, wow, now I actually know where they are because I was there too. So that was kind of cool. It was cool to see them do that.
Yeah, that's the extent that we saw of that. So that was sort of interesting to kind of see that and be present for that, because it's a pretty unprecedented situation. This hasn't happened in a couple decades, almost honestly, like a decade and a half since I think the last big writer's strike, which I like to presume innocently, ignorantly, that we weren't crossing any sort of picket lines to be able to go and do this tour. I don't think that we were supporting anything that would have been indicative of that, and like I just want to show empathy for just this situation and hope that it gets resolved at some point.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
All parties are happy.
To me, it was more like we're supporting these shows and companies of the writers that deserve to be paid more. Like it felt weird going there and like celebrating all of these things that people are picketing, but at the same time where it's like I'm celebrating the fact that I really love these things, and if these people feel like they need to be paid more, they need to be paid more.
It didn't impact the tour at all. There was no like, and maybe that was intentional, there was no relevance of like the writer's strike during the Warner Brothers tour where it was like, oh, this soundstage is where we would normally be filming this right now, but we're not. And this soundstage is where we'd be filming this right now, but we're not. There was nothing.
But there was an understanding of like
relevant
why. But outside of all of that stuff, I was really excited to go to the Warner Brothers studio. It was something that I had wanted to do for a while, but it just like understandably didn't make sense in our time frame to do it anywhere else. So we made time to do it this time, and I was really happy with it. It was a fun tour. It was cool to go to like another studio type thing, because like we've been to Universal Studios, like the actual studios now in both parks. Like we got to go to Disneyland, like the Disney Studios lot, and now Warner Brothers. So it was cool to just see where a bunch of things are originated, and I really loved it. It was so informative. I love behind the scenes type stuff. I would honestly do the tour again if we went back. Like I really enjoyed it, and I think the time that we got to spend on the tram, removed from the vlog a little bit, was fun.
That is nice for me. That's a selfish thing, but when I'm told that I'm not allowed to film something, I'm like,
Sweet.
okay, cool. It makes a little bit like a more of a challenge to put that narrative together where, I don't like those like harsh jump cuts where it's like, here we are, Warner Brothers, and then suddenly we're having lunch now. We finished the entire tour, and it's like, what?
But we
But I was able to take pictures, and I tried to put those into the end of that video, I think, just with like a little bit of a, I think my favorite fact that we learned is just where the infamous Spider-Man kiss happened.
That was so cool.
That was pretty cool. And then just seeing how they just take these, really at any movie studio, how they're able to take these sets and just change them to where you don't notice that it's the same set in so many different movies and TV shows and commercials and advertisements probably, and I don't know, that's like, it's really neat,
I
I appreciate that.
I liked learning that all of the studios use each other's lots, obviously like at a cost, but I like that there is that some sort of business camaraderie and that everybody gets to be like, hey, I really need this set that you have, like here's some money for it, but like I really need this. So that was really cool.
And what that they also enabled is that was not an entire day experience, so that was also sort of a positive to like just planning the trip that way, is that we didn't get to California and then immediately just like hit the ground running with theme parks and just getting exhausted with just park open, park closed, theme park experiences. Excuse me. This is interesting. On this mic, I should have like a little button here. So if I have like a burp or something, then if I turn this off, I don't think you can hear me.
You can probably hear me on mine.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that's kind of neat. So a little like fail-safe mute button. Anyway, so we didn't like box ourselves into just overwhelming ourselves with just attractions and theme parks. We got there on that first day early in the afternoon so that we could just leisurely get to the hotel. We could have a night at CityWalk. And then the next day was a guided tour that started pretty late in the morning so that we could sort of recalibrate our jet lag if we had any, and then we had the entire late afternoon to evening that we could sort of explore. And that's where I wanted to try to figure in, where else are we going to go? What are we going to see? Like, we can explore so much of like Los Angeles with this time. And I think we'd spend a little bit more time on Warner Brothers than I initially thought that we would. I thought we'd get out of there pretty quickly. But I didn't regret it because we got to see a lot of these like interactive exhibits. And we were trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with our time? We can go to Griffith Park. We could try to see the merry-go-round that so many other people have seen and experienced and ridden, and at least just been able to say that they've been there, that, if this is ever not an attraction in the future because it's so old, and the ownership has obviously changed around a little bit, and it was not open when we went, which was really sad. So just depending on if it does reopen consistently, then, that'd be something that we could go back and see at some point. That was sort of cool to see how close that was to the Los Angeles Zoo.
That we went to on our second trip. Second trip.
Which, that itself, that was like a random happenstance because we wanted to go to the Disney studios, and I didn't know how to get into the studios because I knew that as a cast member I was able to walk around, but I didn't know how or where. I went through like the front entrance and I felt really embarrassed, so I was like, abort mission. And then we tried to decide, okay, let's go somewhere else since we're over here. And then, there's a zoo. Let's go to the zoo. And that ended up being super fun. So that was like, just like a happy circumstance of that day.
10 seconds down the road is Griffith Park, and we didn't even know at the time.
Right. But we get to go. We get to at least see it. We get to take some pictures and say that we've been there at the place that Walt Disney conceptualized Disneyland.
It's honestly a really beautiful park. Like, everybody was having picnics. It was so, like, it had so many hills. I tripped and fell and twisted my ankle. But that was it. I was fine.
And it's always weird to be like a tourist in a local place, we're here with a video camera and cell phones taking pictures, and other people are just enjoying their day with their dogs or having a picnic. But that was cool, just to, even if it wasn't open, just to say that we've been there. And now again we have that sort of like mental map of where this place is, how much time it takes to get there if it is open at some point, and we are sort of in the area, presuming that we're going to do somewhat of a trip hybrid like this in the future, because I do think that this trip formula worked out really well, personally, in terms of just like using our time. And then we decided what to do with the rest of our night. So this was like super open-ended. This was probably the most like open-ended part of our entire trip.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if we were going to go to Venice Beach or if we were going to try to hike to the Hollywood sign or if we wanted to just walk around and explore Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset or just aspects of Hollywood that I thought it would be really cool to actually get to see before we started really just, exclusively going to the theme parks because, I don't want to just go to California and just go to the theme parks and then come home.
Yeah.
California is a beautiful place. The beach, the mountains, the forests, the national parks. So we're getting there, really. We're dipping our toes in the water a little bit.
I think we sat in the car and talked for like 20 minutes of like, all right, where do we want to go?
Right. And Venice Beach would have been nice to go to, but it was really like gloomy. It was overcast. It was
like
cold.
An hour drive. So like to drive an hour, spend an hour, drive an hour back.
Mm-hmm. So that would have been the rest of the night easily. Is just driving to and from Venice Beach. And we were thinking about the Hollywood sign, but then not knowing what sort of this is where maybe I could have done a little bit more research, but I didn't know what we were going to commit to time-wise, so I didn't fully, I guess, look into it before we went.
I think it worked out fine.
Yeah, but we ended up going to the Hollywood sign. We went to a park that was just a public park, which was weird because it was just like in a neighborhood, residential area.
Oh, okay. That was also another like random cool part of the trip that I really liked was driving through all of the neighborhoods and seeing like such Californian homes. Like they were all just so cute and just like the architecture of them. Like I was obsessed. Every time we drove through a new neighborhood, I was just like peering out the window, just like this home is so cute. And there was like a lot of those getting to the Hollywood sign, just driving through that. And I really liked looking at all the houses there.
This is where like, I don't know the confidence level of like myself and even going back in the future, because I do want to hike to the Hollywood sign. I want to do the most like
and
presumably legal and public.
Well, we talked about doing that on our next trip was doing the actual hike to the sign.
Mm-hmm. What I don't know, and this will be the research aspect, is just like, because you're going to somewhat invade somebody's personal property or some sort of like residential neighborhood in order to get to this sign. I don't, we looked up a video, or I looked up a video about like, the best way to like hike to the Hollywood sign according to this YouTuber.
And we were like, all right, perfect. Sounds great. Let's do it.
And this is why we went to this park. And, or like, I don't know, this park was like suggested, but then this video sort of said like, at this park you can continue walking and, whatever the setup to doing this hike was, I was following along with the video. And then we got to this point where then it said, like no trespassing, residential, like vehicles only, like it was just like a huge
so
do not continue on.
We were like, okay, so the person in this video 100% trespassed just to get to this point. We're not doing that. Okay, cool. This is where we're stopping.
That's the thing. I think everybody does, and I don't know how much they do or don't enforce that. I just didn't want to put anybody else in like a awkward situation. I didn't want to like kind of self-incriminate myself where just like, oh look, the sign says no trespassing. Anyway, we're gonna go and keep on walking up here, because even like looking at the video, from where this person took a video or a picture of the Hollywood sign didn't really look that much closer, just looked slightly more centered, so it was like, it's not, we can take the time that we would go on this hike and then go do something else, which is what we ended up doing. I don't know. I would love to go behind the Hollywood sign. That to me is what I wanted, because you can't hike to the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Like from the front, that's all just residential. Like you're gonna be trespassing somewhere, like walking to the Hollywood sign from the front. But walking behind it, I don't know if that's public access or not.
I want to go behind the Hollywood sign so I can have a Hillary Duff Cinderella story moment.
Okay. Which we weren't like against doing this trip, but we didn't know how long it would take, so that's why we decided to not do this trip, because we were getting a very late start on just that Hollywood aspect of the day.
Just so like we didn't forget this later, but like how much do you think this entire trip was compared to a trip to Orlando, which I wouldn't know how much that costs?
I don't know. So aspects with that are, because I'm a Disney cast member, I was able to get myself into Disneyland. So there were aspects that made that not a factor, which are pretty significant factors for other people that are purchasing park hopping tickets or day tickets, and but the hotels, the transportation, everything else that was absolutely just what it ended up costing. Through Expedia, I want to say that the Hollywood hotel was somewhere in the $300 a night range. I think think it ended up being about $900 ish,
And
maybe a little bit more.
Prices of flights change all the time, so it really just depends on what time you're going to book the flight too.
Right. And then the Anaheim hotel, that was like either a third or half, at least half of the price of what the Hollywood hotel was. So that was really nice.
Yeah.
Like just the price of 3 nights in the Anaheim hotel was almost the price of 1 night at the Hollywood hotel, if I remember booking that correctly.
If you look at flight prices and then compare them to hotel prices and then compare them to what the prices of park tickets are at that time, and then factor in how much food you think you might be paying for, I think that's like the best way to go about it. We're not big souvenir people, although we were kind of on this trip, but that's going to be like the basics that you can break it down to.
Which we just bought sweatshirts because it was cold, and we
I
kind of gave into that.
I regret it, but I also don't, because I never buy souvenirs like of clothes at other theme parks. So this gave me like a good excuse to buy clothes.
Well, that's what we have to. That's like shirts and stuff, because mostly what you're going to run into it. Like at Disney Universal, it's the same merchandise, but maybe just says Disneyland on it, or or Universal's sort of worse about it.
What about this cool Pokemon Evolution shirt in Hollywood at the Hot Topic and CityWalk?
Universal seems like now they just put Universal on stuff just so they don't have to like brand it like in particular to like a specific resort. But there were other factors like the flights and then the rental car. The rental car did not end up being that bad actually, so that was sort of nice. I don't remember what I ended up paying for that, but that just factoring in the budget wise aspect of just like what would, if we took, we wanted a lot more freedom with this, which we really ended up using that rental car and that aspect of like we wanted to go to Hollywood, to Hollywood Boulevard. We wanted to go to maybe the Hollywood sign, to Warner Brothers, to Universal, to Disney, to Griffith Park, all of these places and more that I'm probably forgetting. Knott's Berry Farm, so we needed a rental car for that, and that ended up working out really well. But yeah, I wish that'd be pertinent information. But again, there's that factor of just like
it's dependent on when you do it.
Yeah, depending on when you do it, and then other discounts and everything that are available.
And we've never traveled to Orlando, so we don't know what that costs.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the hotels here would be a little bit more like the off-property hotels are probably more reasonable. So we ended up going to Universal Boulevard, Hollywood Boulevard, and it was kind of complicated to find a parking spot. I had to like circle around because it was busy, tourists and street performers everywhere and maybe panhandlers or people just selling stuff.
It's like any typical, like, I drive here, Times Square in New York. It was just that same vibe everywhere. Like, pick your most touristy attraction in the city, and it's going to be that same vibe.
Right.
Anywhere.
But once we ended up parking, that was just sort of, we just wanted to walk and just kind of walk in front of the Chinese Theater, maybe see other, like, particular landmarks or stars on the Walk of Fame, maybe have dinner, and maybe walk over to Sunset. And then head back to the car, then head back because we knew that we had a very, very early day the next day at Universal Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that's what we ended up doing. This was sort of a me thing. I really wanted to go to Mel's Drive-In, so I convinced her to go to Mel's Drive-In, and she ended up really liking it, so that was nice.
I don't know, like, it's not like I had a huge aversion, but I think I was just, like, tired and grumpy. So that's just, like, a me thing. But, yeah, I ended up really loving it. I had what did I have? It doesn't matter. Watch the vlog.
I was like, okay.
Watch the vlog.
Now we're getting specific.
The food was great, and I'm really happy to say that we went there, and it was cool. So I quickly turned a new leaf.
I will always err in the direction of just novelty. If something is just interesting or relevant to, if we have a knockoff version of the real thing, I gotta see what the real thing is like.
And then we were also right around the corner from Tell me.
What? What? Why did you do that? Don't do that. And here's a fun fact. Right? Like
the Crossroads.
The Crossroads of the World. Yeah.
Crossroads of the World.
Okay. Yeah. So the what when you walk into Disney's Hollywood Studios, what you see there, what that's based off of on Sunset Boulevard. Just wanted to walk over there really quickly, and then we saw a bunch of stars on the ground.
And the
so
Crossroads of the World, if you don't know, is the thing that you see right when you walk into Hollywood Studios, like the big.
I just said that.
Oh, you did. Sorry.
Literally, exactly, almost.
Sorry.
Without the.
Boop. I was reading the comments. My
wow. Anyway, yeah. So that was our quick little Hollywood Boulevard. I was a little bit bummed about the Fast and Furious following us around everywhere.
It was
and
everywhere.
The premiere. Because we weren't able to actually go into the Hollywood. Not that we like needed to go into the Chinese theater area, but just to be like, here it is. Here's the real deal. I have been to California, and I did do a lot of this when I went. I went as a senior, I think, in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a long time ago now. At this point, your face has been in focus this whole time, and mine's been blurry. And I keep like kind of trying to do this to get some focus back.
Yours is in focus.
So next time I'll just have to do like a manual
Does
focus.
that work?
No, it does not. I'll do manual focus so we're both just like at the same.
Maybe it's because your microphone is blocking your face and mine isn't.
Probably. I mean, that's definitely it because it's face tracking. What is it? We're in the same like
Plane?
Plane. Yes. Nice. Anyway, so that was our lead into like the main reasons that we were there, which was obviously go to the theme parks, and so what I want. Okay, so I guess we're gonna talk about Universal. We might have to speed it up a little bit because we've been really kind of going for a while here about just the lead into again the reason that we were there. So Universal Hollywood, and I was pretty proud of this because if I did not look into this, then I think we would have had a much different, probably a lot worse negative experience at Universal Hollywood. I have not looked into Nintendo World, Super Nintendo World, because I didn't want to be spoiled. It's been open for a couple months, a few months.
I like when things are new and exciting and a surprise.
But then it's also dangerous because you don't want to just walk into something completely ignorantly and like I don't know. Like if I go in there and then we just sort of presume that we can just walk into Universal Hollywood and just have a great day, you know, when you need virtual reservations for everything, when just it's a lot more complicated now to go to theme parks. So what I have heard, what I had at least sort of comprehended it from people is that if you want to have a good time at Universal Hollywood, you need to get the early access to Super Nintendo World. That's sort of like the main nugget of information that I'd heard that I didn't really look into, and I looked into the days of early access, and they were like all sold out for the entire rest of the month. Like I started looking at the beginning of May, and they were just gone for the entire month except maybe like 1 or 2 days, and I was like, oh no, that's terrible. And so for like an entire day, pretty much how I would do if I was getting like fast passes or Lightning Lane or dining reservations or whatever, you know, I just keep refreshing every like 15 minutes. I just had my phone with me and just kept on continually refreshing. And then I saw like one day that was sold out, popped back up again. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, if that happened, then that means anything can happen.
Yeah.
So much potential for possibilities. And so I just kept on refreshing. Multiple days would pop up. Some other days would go away. And finally, the day that we were planning on going popped up, and I grabbed it, and it was $25. I think,
and it was probably the best $25 that we could have spent. It was so worth it.
At least, so the land ended up, when we were there, it went to like virtual access only, and those times went away completely. So if you did get to the park and you did not know that you needed the virtual access entry time, then you wouldn't have been able to go to Nintendo at all. Period. Like at all. There were no, and unless like you kind of stayed refreshing on that app, and then maybe a time would pop up for you to be able to go. But it did end up opening back up, no virtual access required at like 5 p.m. to the rest of the night. And then we did get on the ride.
I was going to say that early access allowed us to go in without a virtual line, or the fear of not knowing if we would get a virtual line. It allowed us to go on the ride within 20 minutes, first thing in the morning. And even though we went in the last hour of the night twice, it gave us that comfort of knowing like this is a ride we came for, we got it done right away, we don't have to wait till literally the end of the night to go on it. And most importantly, it gave us the ability to get that reservation time for Toadstool Cafe. So it was like the best $25 you could have ever spent.
That was another
it was worth it.
factor that I didn't know either. At work I was talking to a friend who had recently gone too, and he mentioned something about Toadstool Cafe, and like needing a virtual time or a return time for it. I don't know if I forgot about that or just like it was just in the back of my head, but it was just sort of happenstance that we were just like walking past it, and they had like the sign out in front of it where the back of it. It was like one of those like flip signs where they, like open or closed. And the back of it that I saw when we were like punching some bricks for coins, it said like, no reservation times available. And I read that from like the back of the sign. And then I was like, I wondered if it was like, if it said it on the front of the sign too or whatever. And then I went around to the front of it and then it said like scan for virtual, something like that. It's been a few weeks now, so I don't remember exactly the scenario of when or how I
just
actually
put us in the
got
right
a reservation.
time, right place.
Right, but I was able to actually get a reservation time in the morning. I forget what time it was, but I think they were all gone for the entire day by like 9 a.m. or something. So like by the time that most people will be getting to the land, there were no reservation times available. So yeah, I don't know if it was just it was a happy accident to just be able to get a reservation time at all, or maybe I had this subconscious memory of somebody reminding me to be able to check to do it. I don't know if I scanned on the sign or if I found it on the app, but whatever combination, we were able to get a Toadstool reservation, which was great. And what I didn't know is if the land would even go back from virtual queue at all, virtual entry at all.
We didn't know if we'd be able to come back once we left.
So having the Toadstool reservation guaranteed that we'd be able to be back on the land with the reservation. So that was like definitely really lucky. But the fact that I think I want to loop back to is that we were able to come back into the land without a reservation to the land, and we did ride Bowser a couple times, without a line. So that was really nice. So that alone could be the argument to not needing early access. So if you're cool with going at the very end of the night and hopping in line with a minimal wait, to avoid paying for something that is otherwise included in your mission.
But if you want to pay for the comfort of knowing that you can knock all of those things off of your list without having to fear that you might not have the opportunity later, that's where it can be worth it. And I think that's why it was worth it to me, where it's like, I loved that we were able to do everything first thing in the morning and then have the privilege of doing it later in the day.
Right. So it just enabled us to make sure that we were able to do that. I just repeated what you said. And it also let us focus on the rest of the park because, again, there were other attractions like Jurassic World and Secret Life of Pets that we also definitely wanted to do.
Yay!
And with I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, our early access into the land also included an express pass access to the studio tour, which I think is sort of interesting because it was sort of clearly like a bait and switch sort of to just get you out of Super Nintendo World.
Because it was only up until a certain time.
Yeah, and
but we didn't use it because we agreed this trip that we weren't going to let that take a huge chunk out of our time, so we just decided to skip it.
Right.
This trip.
So we'll definitely we have to. Yeah. There are some things we don't have to do every single time, and we definitely did that at Disneyland too. If we have a very minimal amount of time to spend in a particular park or something, or multiple attractions have like very long wait times, we have to decide what's the priority with that.
I'll be right back though, because I'm gonna go refresh my drink.
Okay. So I guess I'll just talk about the rides and stuff that we did, and you can kind of get back and add on to that. I don't remember the order that we did all of the rides, but again, that focus was to make sure that we were able to do rides like Jurassic World. We did Jurassic World immediately after, I think, Super Nintendo World because it was right there, and I'm sure Brittany will give her opinion on that. I don't remember what I said like in the moment. I know that I said to her, but I could never remember what I said in the video itself. But I really liked Jurassic World. I liked the second half of it more so than the first half. I really, really enjoy our reveal here in Orlando of the gates opening and the dinosaurs that are there. I don't know if they're all working anymore, just the animatronics. But those just practical effects and actual animatronic dinosaurs to me far exceed the like the screens with the tank with the dinosaur that is just kind of swimming around you, and so I like our version better, the initial part of the attraction, and then the the Jurassic World part, just like the end, just like with the battle between the dinosaurs at the end of the ride. I don't want to really spoil it if you haven't seen the video. I'm presuming that if you're here, that means that you might have seen the videos that we did from California. But yeah, the second half of their Jurassic World was just so cool, and I liked that a lot. They added more animatronics, and it was neat. But so after talking about Jurassic World and how I appreciate, well, I was saying how I liked ours, the initial ride, more so than theirs, and then I liked the end of theirs more than I liked ours.
Yeah, you really didn't like the screens.
Not that I didn't like it, but it's just like, oh man, I missed that like super open, just like Welcome to Jurassic Park, the giant gates open, and it's just like it's like a cool reveal where it's just like a massive dinosaur, like like right above you. So we rode that. That was really cool, and I don't remember like the order that we did everything else. We wanted to do the Wizarding World, to make sure that we finally experienced their version of Forbidden Journey, which was the same except their Dementors. There were so many more of them, and they all had like hands, and that was actually really scary, and I liked that a lot.
Theirs is a lot better than ours.
It was pretty cool. I mean, ours is like the queue. I think is better. Mm-hmm. Their queue is lit better.
Oh my god, so much better. You could see where you're going in that thing.
Yeah, but it also makes ours is more like ominous in that way.
I guess.
But yeah, just like there's the like the queue like the outside, like ours is like right up against like Jurassic Park, so it's just like a little bit more open versus theirs just has like a wall there.
Stacy wants to know, is it true that as you get older you learn to enjoy the parks differently? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. It just depends like how you prioritize a ride, whether what you look for in the attractions that you ride.
Yeah, when you're a kid, you're like rides. But as an adult, you're like, let's do experiences. Shows are cool. Like, let's check out these bars. Oh, these food places are nice. Like, it's definitely different.
I'm definitely still more in the rides. But I appreciate what other aspects of like just the immersion, like the general immersion of an area. Like, it's not just about the ride in an area. It's just like how that ride fits into the area. Yeah. And then the accompanying like resort restaurants and gift shops and shows that sort of go along with that area. But it's also cool to, I don't know, ride a ride and intentionally try to look for something that you haven't noticed before, because that's why these attractions exist and why these incredibly creative teams at Disney Universal
that's why I
put these rides together.
Living rides so much. But
I wanted to say hello to Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. Are you watching with your mom right now?
We need to go to Disney with Daniel at some point soon. Yeah. It's overdue. So we can kind of like, I guess, skip to Secret Life of Pets, because that was something that you really wanted to do. I was really excited to do it. A Universal Dark ride that ended up just, for me, hitting it out of the park. It was adorable.
Well, the theme was we were puppies. Yep. How do you not like that? I got on a ride and they called me a puppy. How do I not like that? And then I get on the ride and they turn me into a puppy? How do I not like that? It was great.
I liked the queue. It was
really cool.
Walking through like New York City apartments and stuff, and just seeing like little animatronic dogs from like the movies. So that was really cool. Arlo just walked in.
Oh, he heard
He's
puppy.
Like, hey guys, talking about the Secret Life of Pets. So it was cool. What else did we do? We kind of like...
We did the Mummy. We did...
Yes.
Hogsmeade. We did... we ate at Minions Cafe, which we hadn't done before, and the food was actually really good.
Which is allegedly opening up today.
Yeah, today's supposed to be the soft opening of it, but from the food that I've seen people advertise for the one here, I don't think the food is the same here as it was there, which, oh, Arlo, he's just like next to me. But I had the barbecue mac and cheese or whatever, and it was so good.
I forget what I had. You keep wanting to talk about the food that we had, and I'm like, I don't know.
It was good. I like the food.
What? Generally, the food that we got because we wanted it, and it was good because we ate it. That's my prerogative with that. But yeah, so and then
Oh, that's right. We did DreamWorks too, which glad we did it.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing.
I mean, I'm not a Kung Fu Panda guy, you know? Like I thought the movies were fine, but I think there are much more definitive representatives of DreamWorks than Kung Fu Panda. If it was like an entire library of DreamWorks of an attraction that they could like add to, you know?
I think that's what I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it was going to be a mixture of all of the DreamWorks characters and not just Kung Fu Panda.
It was still cool, but it was like, well, we could have done something else or watch this on YouTube or something.
No, but I'm glad we did it to say that we did, because we never did Shrek there. What else did we do that was new? I think that was it.
I think so. Yeah. Because
we stepped inside the Simpsons queue just to see what it would look like, but we didn't actually go on it.
Which I can't remember if I've done that, because I have been to California, Hollywood too, before you. I think when I did that senior trip, but I don't remember if I did Simpsons. I do remember during that trip that everybody else did the studio tour, and I was like furious because like it was like either the group that I was with or I just didn't know that there was a studio tour, and I was like, what? There was a studio tour where you can see Whoville and all this other cool stuff. And like I didn't do it, and that's the main thing you want to do here. Like, oh god, I was.
What were you doing?
I think it was again like you're kind of just like with a group, and you know if you're with that group that just wants to do roller coasters or that wants to like, you know, ride Jurassic Park or you know or whatever it is, you know, you're kind of at the mercy of what they want to do, and I don't know. That's why these days I'm much more take charge in terms of theme parks. Like I know my agenda and what I want to do.
I guess Daniel walked away, so he didn't hear us say hi.
Daniel,
come back, sir. We want to say hi. Is your auntie and your uncle? Hello.
Okay.
We love you.
So if anybody's asking any questions, we're not trying to ignore them. I'm trying to get through like the mental progression of our week, and so we might answer it just in when we get to it if we haven't already answered it. But we went back to the hotel for a little bit to sort of refresh after like our, and I'm kind of putting this in the middle of us talking about the attractions that we did, because this trip was that we did not do any shows, we didn't do the studio tour, we didn't do any like duplicate rides or any like inferior rides that we already have duplicates of,
except for Forbidden Journey.
Yeah. But like that one was relevant because I wanted to see what it was actually like. I wanted to see what the queue looks like, and I wanted to see how the ride was different from ours because it was however many years newer than ours. But when we came back, we knew that we wanted to go back to Super Nintendo World because that was the absolute main reason that we wanted to go. And when we went back in, we wanted to do all of the power-up band challenges.
Which we did all of them.
There were 4 in the land. You needed to do 3 of them so you could do Bowser's Shadow Showdown. So you could...
Bowser Jr.
Yes. So that was really fun to get to do that and to like actually use the power-up bands, which hopefully we'll be able to use whenever it comes to Orlando, which from, rumors and whatnot.
Most likely.
Our land is going to be like double or if not more the size of their land, which I did think was actually pretty cool. Like Universal does a pretty good job of like Volcano Bay and Super Nintendo World and Nintendo of just squishing lands into like little areas and actually having it be really cool. So yeah, we ended the night at in Super Nintendo. We rode the ride a couple more times. We took a bunch of pictures. We played some games. We had dinner at Toadstool, which was super cool.
It was great.
And definitely want to go back in the future and just sort of do it again.
Very heavy on the mushroom in the ingredients.
And so that was our day at Universal. And that was our final day in Burbank too.
Yeah.
And so the next day, this day could have, I think, gone a little bit better.
It was also your birthday.
Yeah. Well, so in the sense of just like, and if anybody's ever done like a split vacation somewhere, just like that awkward day of that transition from like one hotel or one resort to another.
Yeah.
Having to check out of this hotel early in the morning and not being able to check into this hotel until very late in the afternoon. And because that was our Disneyland day. That was the day that I got the reservation for Disneyland for, and just leaving Burbank and then getting over to Anaheim, which that was a drive in of itself. We needed to be able to check into the resort, into the hotel, which we didn't do until later on in the day because we couldn't. And so we just went directly to Disneyland, and that was sort of a little bit awkward having to go to Disneyland and then leave and then check in and then come back. Otherwise, it would have been more beneficial, I think, to if we had just been able to check into the hotel, put our stuff in there, maybe take a little bit of like a afternoon to like refresh, and then spent like the afternoon all the way through park closed at Disneyland. I think that would have been the best way to do it. I think we did ask about early check-in, but it didn't sound like they were going to be able to accommodate it, or we would have had to go to the hotel anyway to see if they could, and that would have just been wasted time if we had gone all the way to the hotel and then to Disneyland. But Disneyland, we just kind of rode our rides, There was nothing. I think Disneyland was sort of the finish line of the trip in terms of doing new activities, with the exception of Knott's Berry Farm. So getting to do all of our favorites and, try to prioritize what we knew that we wanted to do versus like what we did want to do, but we didn't have time to do, or the
It was
lines
balancing.
or Lightning Lane, Genie Plus wasn't going to work out for us.
Yeah, it was balancing everything we wanted to do on the first day, knowing that we had the opportunity to go back the second day because we were doing a hybrid California Disneyland day.
Right. But, I mean, what we did get to see is Magic Happens, the new parade.
That was such a cool parade.
Which was...
And you've been obsessed with the song since.
I have. I've been jogging every day, and it's like kind of the perfect like beats per minute to like just kind of like run to, and it's, I don't know, it's so I feel like I have such a respect and intrigue and appreciation of just a Disney songs, because when they're attached to some sort of entertainment or show or project that may not be the most like well received, people often overlook like the soundtrack for something, I think. Like if it's just like a lazy parade or just a firework spectacular that just is not that great itself visually, then people will like maybe drag the entire experience. But if you listen
trying to see if the camera will focus on you.
But if you listen to the music, Disney music is fantastic. It is awesome, and it is inspiring, and it makes you smile and feel happy. And so I'm so glad that we got to see Magic Happens. It made me very envious.
It was such a modern take on Disney parades. Like, I'd never seen anything so modern. It was nice.
Yeah, how they were performing and dancing. So I'm glad that we got to see that. And yeah, just Disneyland was Disneyland. We ate
at the Rose. Where do we eat?
See, yeah, you commit to trying to say the name of it, and then you don't remember.
It was their Pinocchio Village house. It was their version of that, and the food was really good, too.
And then I think the Bengal barbecue for dinner. Whoa, I am... Okay, well, we'll just be out of focus forever.
No! There we go.
Because Brennan really wanted to do some sort of big birthday dinner.
I know.
For me, and we ended up doing that the next day. Because like at Disneyland, just like reservations are a lot more challenging. It would have been really cool to go to
You can't just go anywhere you
Bayou
want
restaurant.
whenever.
Yeah, but those are like just really hard to get. So it was sort of like I would have rather eaten something casual and inexpensive versus forcing myself to get a reservation for something that, it was not like the most. It wasn't like the necessity to eat somewhere nice for the sake of it on my birthday, which I'm glad that we did that, because then we probably would not have done Carthay Circle the next day. And I really enjoyed Carthay Circle. Yeah. So I'm glad that we were sort of like, I don't know, we did something inexpensive on my actual birthday at Disneyland. So we spent my birthday at Disneyland, and we didn't see the fireworks because they were only happening on the weekends. We were there on a weekday, which I think they started doing the fireworks every day that following weekend, because Memorial Day, because everything happens in the theme park spectrum on Memorial Day. Like that's the it's the official unofficial start of summer for theme parks, when they launch new attractions or new lands open up, in the case of Knott's Berry Farm. So yeah, so Disneyland was cool. We did not see Fantasmic, obviously, because it is not running because of the incident from about a month before we went, which that was like sort of like a, oh, you know, that timing, you know, where it's nobody's fault, obviously, and it's like a tragedy, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, but then at the same time, it was like, well, now we can kind of focus on like rides because we do have Fantasmic. Theirs, I think, is a bit more superior, you know. I do think one of my big regrets that we did not do is I wanted to go to Tom Sawyer Island.
Yeah, and we didn't.
Yeah, so we'll have to do that next time. Hopefully, I think.
But we've at least been.
Yeah, no, but just to go and appreciate and enjoy it in the canoes, just like a lot of that sort of stuff that, you know, unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think is long for the theme parks. You know, just Tom Sawyer Island, just they're gonna replace it with something better, like an actual attraction, probably that's a little bit more cohesive.
Sad.
It is. You know, I like Tom Sawyer Island. You know, I don't need it to be Tom Sawyer. I don't think specifically, but to have that like escapism, to be able to just go run around, explore in a wilderness frontier setting. That's what I most appreciate. But if they replace it with something a little bit more modern,
yeah,
you know, I think it's inevitable. So I'd like to go out and do theirs because I love ours here. But yeah, so no nighttime spectacular Disney World land. You know, so. That was sort of weird, but again, we got to like just ride rides that we wanted to do, with the exception of Matterhorn, which was closed, which I was like hoping that they might surprise with like a soft opening.
Yeah.
Because it's open now.
But you know what we never did? We never went into Galaxy's Edge.
We did not. Which that was like, you had mentioned something about like you wanted to do that, but just for the sake of just walking in and being like, okay, here it is.
Yeah, I just wanted to walk in to say that I did. I don't think I really needed to do anything in there.
I wanted to walk through like the entrance that we don't have, and we will do that at some point. Like it's not by any means, it was not a priority. We just didn't really make it back
and we
to.
never did Thunder Mountain.
No, we kept on trying to do Thunder Mountain.
We kept trying, but they wouldn't let us.
Because it kept on going down, so there'd be like a multiple experience that then I'd use here, but then I get another lightning lane for this, or you know, and I kept on, and I didn't really spend a lot of time talking about that in the video. I don't think, just like how I do lightning lane and how I am able to sort of move them around and in terms of priority of where we are, because you can edit them, or at least you can edit them here. I think you can edit them in Disneyland. I'm not sure. I tried to commit to what we got when we got it, but then we get a multiple experience, which you can use at that same attraction or other attractions throughout the rest of the day. So multiple experiences, a lot of people are inconvenienced by those, but I actually really like them because it just gives you that entire opportunity to be able to just, you know, use it whenever you want. A lot of people use it as soon as the ride reopens, and you don't want to do that because it gets overrun by everybody trying to do that. Yeah, but we did not get to do Thunder Mountain, which it's just sort of an inverted version of the one that we have with differences, and then the big explosion scene and stuff. Like, it's not that similar, but I'm just trying to talk myself down for being sad about it, I guess.
Luna says she'd ride the hell out of Autopia.
Cried?
Ride.
Oh.
Which we did.
I was like, whoa.
We love Autopia at Disneyland.
I want to go back and do it during the daytime. It's like
we always do it at night, yeah.
It's more subtle at night. Did we do it at night last time? Maybe.
Yes.
I don't think we rode it our first trip. Like our second trip was about like doing experiences that we didn't do the first time.
Yeah.
Like Autopia, like Submarine Voyage, which I think I'm not against going back and doing Submarine Voyage.
It was a little bit cramped.
It was cramped. I think it was like kind of late at night and stuff. Which I don't know, if I do an attraction that makes me like nervous or anxious or something, like it's better to do it like during the daytime for me than at the nighttime. I don't know if anybody can relate to that.
So most of our experiences at Disneyland were pretty status quo. They were mostly similar to what we've done in the past, but when we went to California Adventure, we got to experience Avengers Campus for the first time, and then
So we're moving on to
Pixar Pier.
So we're moving on to California Adventure?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah.
Unless anybody wanted to know anything about Disneyland.
That was it. That was Disneyland. I'd want to go back and do Jungle Cruise again. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think we've only done the Jingle Cruise there.
Yeah, so this was our first time going to Disneyland.
Not during a wintry...
Yes, overlay time. So that was pretty pertinent to be able to do that. What if I Does that help? Nope. I didn't even do anything. So the next day was California Adventure, and this one was sort of exciting because I was able to get us a breakfast reservation I know that I mentioned it like in the video. I think it was sort of like tomorrow we might do this, and we never went to downtown Disney, so I'd like to do that next time. Sort of prioritize that.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could, I would want to stay somewhere like the Disneyland Resort to like really fully experience walking through like downtown Disney and those restaurants and like merchandising areas. But yeah, we didn't go to downtown Disney at all, and I was thinking we were going to go there maybe for breakfast before going to California Adventure, but then I got a reservation for the Storytellers Cafe. Yeah, at
which was
the Grand
really
Californian.
cute. I loved it. Not only was like the food good, but the character interactions were good, and I think to this day, best Mickey Mouse interaction I've ever had. It was wonderful. Like Mickey Mouse was so cute.
He scared the crap out of
He
me.
did scare the ever-loving crap out of Roy, and it was one of the best things ever. Me and Mickey continued to have a laugh about it. But his interaction with us was great. I felt like it was so personable. He came back after, like he didn't need to, but he just came back and remembered us. And it was
Yeah, we were
so cute.
We told him we were from Orlando and everything, so he was just loving that. And I was distracted when I got scared. It's because I handed the camera to Brennan because it's a new camera that you haven't really used that much. So I was giving it to you and I was telling you something about it, and I was just, for whenever Mickey would come up, because I couldn't tell because it seemed like every character had like a different rotation. Usually in character dining, you can sort of anticipate the rotation when they're at this table, then they go to this table, then they're at my table. But it seemed like every character was doing something different. So it was like, I don't know when they're,
where they were coming
when they're coming up next. Maybe he'll come right over here, or maybe he'll do that like little loop and then hit those other 4 tables and then get to us. But just like right there, Mickey Mouse, the big cheese himself, just
The big cheese.
this scared me. But it was so much fun, and the breakfast was delicious. I love theme park breakfast buffets. It's just.
Speaking of new camera, I know like the biggest.
No, don't do it. No, don't.
I know the biggest problem with the whole trip was the audio, and Roy is very aware it was not the intentions to have really crappy audio.
Crappy audio?
Sorry. It was just like a new camera with a new mic muff that was not working favorably.
Keep on going. What else you got to say?
The issue will be resolved shortly.
So, I guess I'll talk about it now since I got called out. But
I'm not the first one to call it out.
This is the camera here. This is not the microphone that I used on the trip. I was able to return that one because I only used it the time that I was there. And
so it was poop.
It was that camera, that microphone, and I even recorded the video about this that you haven't seen yet because I have recorded a couple of videos since we got back, but I wanted to do this because we just finished uploading and I finished editing the videos. So I was able to return that old microphone because, well, it wasn't great for the environment that we needed to be able to use it for, I guess. I don't want to get too like camera technical or anything like that. But if it was like if it was a room like this, if I put the microphone on the camera and I put it on a tripod, right here facing us talking, would have been a perfect microphone. But the environmental factors of like the wind and the crowd levels, and then just the audio settings on the camera was not the best, for just that environmental factor, which is sad because like I got that microphone specifically for that trip to be able to, feel like I was really improving the audio and like the wind and everything. But it was just so loud, so blown out, just like how it could not compensate for that. It had like there was like a double, there was a microphone on the front and on the back, so you should have been able to hear me talking from the back. But if there was too much, noise coming from the front, it would completely drown it out and prioritize the audio coming from the front. Yeah, so it was a bummer. I tried to do a little bit of audio editing, but I didn't want to make it too obvious, that I was just heavily editing this audio that it would have sounded weird, right? So I was just like, you know what? This is the trip that we had. This is the video that I got of it. And, at the end of the day, it's still a memory. We still went to California and had an incredible time and made some fun memories. But yeah, I'll try to test out a microphone next time a little bit more like in the field before I commit to, using it for an entire week, and then not realizing till I get back that it was just really rough. This microphone, this is sort of like the better version of the one that I have. So I've already tested this one out. This one seems to work really well. A lot of people use this one. I was just trying to be a little bit cheaper with it, where I didn't want to spend the extra couple $100 for like the best version that you can get
And more subtle.
for this microphone. And it was a little bit more subtle. That one was like, this size and this wide. But at the end of the day, you get what you pay for, So something to kind of consider. I haven't really even used this in like intense like wind or whatever, but we'll see how this ends up working out for me. But yeah, just know that I know that the sound was not the best, and even the camera quality, like visually, was not the best. Which I've been trying to do this right, but I've been taking video on this camera, and then it records in that like gyroscopic data to be able to import into this software called Catalyst Prepare that is supposed to stabilize the video, and it does stabilize it, but it knocks down the quality a little bit, which maybe is something that not everybody notices, but I notice it. So that's something that I'm working on. This, so gonna improve it, gonna work on it.
And that's what you missed on Glee.
I've never watched Glee. So we're still talking about California Adventure. We got to the park. We went through the park. We went through the Grand Californian, and then had breakfast. It was great. And then by the time that was done, it worked out perfectly with time. So we went over to Avengers Campus so we could finally. Same with Nintendo. We knew that we needed to go to Avengers. Like that was like the main purpose of wanting to go to California Adventure. We have not been back there since before Bugs Land closed, which is a long time ago. Which is kind of cool to be able to like go to a theme park where an entire land is there, and then leave and then come back and an entire new land is there ready to be enjoyed on the rides and attractions.
Yeah. I do miss a Bugs Land. I miss the theming and the atmosphere of a Bugs Land, but I love all of the Avengers like characters that were like roaming around. It was really cool to see them, and I think the highlight for me was getting to see the Spider-Man animatronic.
That was cool.
That was like the highlight.
I've been really wanting to see that.
It was the best.
As well. The stunt show, a little bit less than
stellar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was cool. Like, I appreciate the stunt performer doing the stunt, but it could have been a little bit more or something. I don't know. Maybe being too picky about that, or maybe I was just there for the animatronics. So like the lead up to it was like less spectacular, in comparison to like what I really wanted to see, which was this, swinging animatronic. So.
We didn't spend that much time there.
No, I mean, we did everything that we wanted to do. We went, I think so, we did that, and then we went over to Cars Land.
Well, we did the ride.
Yes. Oh, my God. Duh. Yeah. Well, yeah, I said so we had the lightning lane to be able to go to do the web slingers. Which
kind of underwhelming.
I actually was more impressed than I thought I was going to be with that.
Really?
Because of the accuracy. Because of the accuracy, like when I did this, I literally saw the web going from where my hand was, and I was just like,
it reminded
I'm
me
actually
of
impressed.
Ninjago at Legoland.
Yeah, but that's just like chaos where you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So I go like this, and you can actually see where it's going, and I don't know. I appreciated that sort of a lot. It was cool, and it maybe it could have been more fun. But I liked it. And so we went over to Cars Land next, and we did Tomaters, and then we did Luigi's. Luigi's we actually ended up waiting a long time waiting for.
Yeah, it's too much.
I don't know. I think it's a fun ride, but it was sort of underwhelming.
Yeah.
And then we ended up going back over to Avengers Campus. And then doing, I always forget. See, I want to call it Cosmic Rewind, but it's Mission Breakout. I don't know. It was fun. It was cool, and I'd do it again. But I don't know if it's like a necessity to be able to go and do that. And so that was sort of like the morning, which was doing both of those, and then we went over to Pixar Pier, which has changed from Paradise Pier.
Since it was Paradise Pier, and it was really cute. I liked it.
I think I preferred Paradise Pier personally.
Yeah. I think what they did with it, with the overlay, was pretty cute. I liked it. I
I
don't
think it made more sense.
California Screamin' was anything spectacular, so I liked the Incredibles layover.
I guess I enjoyed like the pier aspect of it, like just like to have like a pier with a midway on it. I liked it a lot, and I don't know, the Incredicoaster. I was like, okay, it's fine. But it makes more sense with like Toy Story. They added the whatever attraction, the Emotional Whirlwind. But there's still so much like, and I tried to say this like in the video, but it was like obviously impossible to hear with the wind and whatnot. But there's still so much that is still like a reference to Paradise Pier that they didn't overlay, that they didn't change, which I thought sort of was interesting. Like you can still see the remnants of like what Paradise Pier was, before they changed it over to Pixar Pier.
Yeah.
Like so now like the Silly Symphony Swings and the Golden Zephyr, like it's just sort of in the the jellyfish, jumping jellyfish. It's random, it's out of place, so it's like you can refurbish that too, change it up a little bit. So then we went over to Mike and Sully to the Rescue, and we rode that. And that was sort of a necessity. That's one of my favorite rides there, which is weird because so many people do not like it at all, or it reminds them of Superstar Limo. And Superstar Limo. And then we finally went to Carthay Circle, which I loved that. That was so cool. I felt very underdressed for that. And
it was, I don't know if Carthay is my atmosphere. I don't know. It was very elegant. The food was great. Maybe I would have liked a little bit more options of food.
Okay.
But I would go back, but it wasn't like the place that I would choose to go to.
Right. It was a little bit expensive. It was expensive. It would have been cool to sort of sit outside. I would have actually really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something cool to do. We've never done before, and that was like my birthday dinner food option. That's where we had dinner, right?
I think it was a late lunch.
Okay. I'm trying to, because we had a breakfast, we had like a brunch, so that was sort of like a breakfast lunch combination. That was just like, it was a buffet, so it was sort of a lot. And then we went to Carthay. We had to try really hard to be able to not snack until Carthay Circle. But yeah. So that was nice. Then I think that's where we ended and started a new video. We went over to the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail to experience that. I love that place. It's nice. I also feel like that's an area that may not be, that may be a little bit short-lived. They might put something else in there that's, maybe less of a physical hazard or something, make it a little bit more of an attraction area. So if we get to go back, it'd be cool to do that. It'd be fun to do that in the early part of the day, maybe when there's less people in there. Feel less weird about it. All the kids are trying to have fun, and then I'm you're just trying to bounce up and down on the rope, bridge and stuff. Then we went over to Disneyland. Then we did the rides over there that we wanted to do that we did not do the previous day, which were mostly just dark rides, like Pirates and Alice. We did the Storybook Land Canal boats.
Yeah.
Which, if we were going to do that or the Casey Jr. train, then I'm glad that we did that because we didn't do that last time at all. And the first time that we did that, it was late at night, and so it was hard to enjoy it because we had to go to the shuttle right after that. So to not be bookended by something stressful, it was nice to do that. And then we went back to California Adventure for World of Color 1. And I didn't really like it. I liked the beginning and I liked the end of it. I liked the song again, but then just the just putting in clips and stuff. I don't know. I've recent Disney movies.
Yeah, it was just music and clips. I think out of all of the nighttime spectaculars, it's not the most spectacular.
Yeah. And it was nice, but it was, I think, I always have that kind of comparative mindset of what I could be doing, I guess, versus what I am doing. And I'm like, oh man, I could have seen this from a distance or something, and I would have been fine with it. And then we did Radiator Springs, and that was I guess we did kind of have dinner. We went to Pimp Kitchen and we got that big pretzel.
The big pretzel.
So that was fun.
Cursed.
And then
the big pretzel.
Yeah, and then into the day on Radiator Springs Racers, so that was cool. So that was our Disneyland Resort experience. So a lot of just rides that we just wanted to do, a lot of rides that are our favorites, a lot of rides that we wanted to try to prioritize, and we got Lightning Lane for both days. Maybe we didn't need to, but we were able to. So next was 1 second.
That's fine. Perfect.
Okay. So next we went to Knott's Berry Farm, and that was super cool. And this is actually sort of interesting because I don't know if it's sort of interesting, but I didn't think that I'd been to Knott's Berry Farm before. Like I was so convinced that I had not been to Knott's Berry Farm, but then talking to my mom, she's like, "Oh no, we went. We went because we've been to California before, and I took you out there, and I was like, I guess I have been out there before. I don't remember it." And so then I went from this perspective of that I have not been there to then I guess I have been here, but I don't remember it anymore. But then talking to my mom again, she was like, well, maybe that was me that went out there. And I was like, what? Have I been out there or not?
But
like, I don't know.
You never remembered it before, so this was your first memorable experience at Knott's Berry Farm.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it definitely felt like a completely new experience. And Knott's Berry Farm, I've seen like videos from it, but I couldn't, piece it together of like where anything is, and so it was cool to actually just like go there and just see what it is, especially Calico, Ghost Town.
That was your favorite area of the whole park.
Yeah, no, and that's why I like Dollywood. That's why I like Frontierland. I love that aspect and how it's implemented into a theme park.
Yeah,
is so cool to me.
I think we do need to talk about like when we got there, we were immediately like inundated with just teens, like teens, kids, like people that were just being not respectful of other people when we got there.
Yeah, and I think that was like a bummer, and I didn't want to dwell on that too much, where it's all about complaining about, an experience or something, or like what we don't like about, an inconvenience. But it was hard. It was hard to like not recognize that because it was a bummer. So like what it was is that we got in line for Ghost Rider, and we were in line. The line like wasn't really moving, and then there was this group of kids in front of us, presumably early high school, late middle school, or something like that. And I couldn't tell when this group started, when it ended. It just seemed like this was the day that was just like an end of, school year day for people to just, come to Knott's Berry Farm apparently, and they've implemented a what do you call it? Like a chaperone rule,
policy.
And I guess it's not really being implemented or enforced, or even if they can and how, I don't know. But we were in this line, and then suddenly just like a bunch of them just like went past everybody and half of the line and met up with a group in front of us, and that was kind of annoying. And
it was like 10 of them that cut in front of us, and then the line stopped at one point, and you could just see the kids in line in front of us were like looking around in the back of the line, spotting different chunks of their friends everywhere who were like pointing at them to be like, hey, can we come up with you? And at that point I was already annoyed, and like luckily there was like employees in the line like trying to like fix the queue and everything, so they were all like, no, don't cut yet, there's workers here. And I'm like, so as soon as this guy goes away, like 20 more of y'all are gonna just like come cut us in line? Like, this is, I don't know, I was not having the best time.
Yeah, and then it just like in like a matter of confrontation, it would not have been worth it for me personally, because it's like at the end of the day, I don't really care, but then I do care, at the same time, where I just prefer to keep the line moving. It's like I don't have the patience to, if it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's like pick your battles and stuff, because it's like I absolutely could stand up for. Well,
us. We also didn't want to pull like the old people card where we were like, excuse me, these children are cutting in front of us in line. Like, we didn't want to have to do that, because that's just like, that doesn't make me have a good experience.
And like you can never know how volatile they're going to be back to you about it. If they are going to be physical, it's just like, what's worth it? Like me waiting one extra train dispatch and rolling my eyes about it. Or it was really the fact that the line did not move, and that was just frustrating. It's just like, if this line could like move, that would be great. But we're just standing, here for 15 minutes, and we're still seeing so many people that are just kind of like looking around, waiting to like join up.
But it did encourage us to maybe just get the fast lane. there, which
I
we didn't want
hate
to
that.
do. That's not something we normally purchase when we go places. We're usually really good about just waiting in line and hanging out and being okay with it. But once we purchased it, it made the whole rest of the trip like so much better, and that to me was like worth the
Because
money.
we were able to ride all the rides that we wanted to do. There were a lot of rides that were closed. I don't know if that was a factor of like Memorial Day or just what the deal was with that. The entire Fiesta Village land was closed, which was...
That made you so upset.
It was sad. I mean, it would have been cool to do. I mean, it wasn't like if there was a land that was closed, I'm glad that it was not Calico, that it was not Ghost Town. That would have been really sad. It was more so the fact of just like seeing the reopening schedule of it and being like, oh my God, it opens like, it opened 2 days or 3 days after we like left, after we weren't there. I think like the media day was like either the next day or the day after that. So it was like, wow, we got really close to being able to to see that and go in there and you know, so that would have been fun. But again, gives us another reason to go back next time. And now we're a little bit more familiar with, you know, all the rides and like maybe what we do and we don't want to do. So next time we don't need to do the fast lane because we don't need to ride everything.
But I think we just really actually enjoyed the park. You loved the mine train.
Yeah, the Calico Mine ride.
That was your favorite thing that you did
phenomenal.
the entire trip. We did it twice just for Roy because you loved it so much. And I think the theme of the park itself was really cute. I loved, well, you loved the Ghost Town area. I just loved that it was like Peanuts and Snoopy. I loved the whole boysenberry aspect of it because like I like trying out different foods.
We
and
didn't
then
like eat that on camera or anything.
No.
Because we didn't feel the need to, but it was good. I really
Well,
like the boysenberry pie was delicious.
We got a lot of
the tarts,
boysenberry stuff because we
cookies.
knew we were flying back the next day. So I got some stuff to bring home to my parents so that they can try stuff. And we knew it was going to kind of last. So we bought a bunch of stuff, but we didn't try it that day. But I loved the theme park. It was so cute. I got to finally enjoy a new theme park.
Oh, no. Sorry, someone's walking outside, and I think Arlo's asleep. But if he notices them, he might start.
Oh, I think he's
barking.
like asleep.
But
now.
yeah, he looks really asleep.
But this guy is just like shaking his baby in a stroller outside, and I'm like, can you please just keep going?
So we didn't encounter any other like problems with it. Was just kind of like just the entire day that we were there, we were just seeing these kids running around and you know, my presumption was just like, oh man, I bet they're like racing over this other ride where these other guys are already in line and they're gonna like meet up with them, and then these other guys are in this line and they're gonna run over here and meet up with them. Like it's this whole entire process of just like getting in line and then joining up, and then you know, which like I could not have that confidence. It's funny, like one of my friends came to Disney years ago now at this point, and he got in line for Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, and he made it like all the way to the front of the line, like almost to the merge point of the ride, and you know, he was just like, hey, do you want to meet up here with me, you know, and something like that. And I didn't feel comfortable like skipping the entire line of people to get up there with him. So I literally waited in line, and it probably made him very uncomfortable and kind of bummed where he waited for me because he didn't want to ride alone. And you know, and like I think what it was is I rode the single rider line, and then but then I got out of the single rider line, and then he decided that he did want to ride it. So then he got in the line, the regular line, something like that, where we were just kind of like going around each other. But I didn't want to like skip the line and meet up with him, so I like waited the entire length of the line just to get to the point in the line where he was, and then I joined in line with him, which is probably the best way you could possibly do that to like, you know. But like I just didn't want to be that guy, and there's always that potential that there's always going to be that one person, even if you're one person trying to like catch up with somebody, you're not like an entire family of 25 people. You know, what if that one person is just like, no, you're not getting past me, and then you're just like, oh man, what do I now? What now? I'm called out and I'm embarrassed, and like, what do I do now? You know, so I was just like, I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna wait in line just to meet up with my friend, and it took like 20 or 30 minutes or something, and it was a little sad, but that was a tangent. But yeah, it didn't ended up being like a problem. Like the entire rest of the duration of the day was just like that one ride, which I think Ghost Rider is like the main ride at Knott's Berry Farm if there is one. So that's probably why. You know, I'm sure that they were like running in between coasters and doing all that stuff, so I wasn't too worried about like, you know, the more casual rides like the Calico Mine ride. this person is just right in front of our house.
He's
That is
still just with the stroller. Just
yeah. That's interesting.
Oh, there he goes.
Okay. So
Are you watching the live stream, sir?
yeah.
Did you hear us?
Yeah. So Knott's was it was a cool day, just to try to enjoy the park, just to ride rides that seemed interesting, just to explore, see what we could do that was open, make like a mental note of what to do when to come back, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said that with everything that was new. Just I liked it a lot.
And that was our California trip.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. So we rode all the rides that we wanted to do there. We got our desserts, and yeah, that was only like a 15-minute drive probably from our hotel in Anaheim too.
Super convenient.
And yeah, then we drove back to the hotel, and then we had to wake up the next day, and we drove to John Wayne.
Also super convenient.
Returned to the car right there. Didn't have to take a shuttle or anything. It was just right there at the airport.
John Wayne is a very nice, small,
as most airports are,
intimate airport.
Mm-hmm.
Took Breeze Airways. Liked it.
Yeah, and then we flew home.
Came home.
And that was great. And then we picked up Arlo, and I uploaded that video yesterday. So now you've seen and heard us talk about the entirety of our trip.
Yep.
As well as seen it. And we've been talking for almost about 2 hours. Every time I do a live stream, it's going to be about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So didn't really pay a lot of attention to the comments. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to get back to that. This video was just sort of just me wanting to like just cohesively talk about from start to end our trip in California, sort of the moments that we enjoyed the most, maybe some challenges that we had along the way, things that we did that were new, that were different. So if I didn't answer your question, I'm sorry about that. It was just sort of like a fun conversation to kind of have it between the two of us to just, I don't know, relive the trip while it's still sort of relatively fresh. And now I can kind of get back on track. You know, hopefully I can use this camera with a microphone that might work. We'll see.
Oh,
we'll work on that. And yeah, so you'll see a couple of videos of us after we got back from our trip. Just some fun little local activities that we've done. And then it is back to the theme parks to enjoy what's new, what we haven't seen. There's a lot that is new that we need to do. We need to go to festivals. We need to, experience some new lands and stuff here in Orlando. So that is really exciting. Do you have any final thoughts about our trip?
Final thoughts are I am excited to go back to California to do stuff outside of the theme parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Final thoughts.
But
I really enjoyed this trip. This trip was so, I keep wanting to say stretched out, but I felt like we planned this last trip really well for all of the things that we really wanted to do, and I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I was pretty, especially just how last minute it was. I was very pleased of just planning it and how it ended up working out, and pretty much exactly how I would have wanted it to work out. So yeah, that's cool. Again, that's the challenge, is to make it a little bit more convenient and a little bit more, streamlined. I guess just every time that we go, and just what we tend to prioritize. So I don't know when we're gonna go back next. Hopefully it's not 5 years. But I had a good time, and I'm glad that we did it, and it was a really cool birthday trip. And yeah, so we'll see when we go back next. We have not been for the Halloween season. We've been for Christmas a couple times, but not for Halloween. But also to not go during the summer would be kind of nice too. We'll see.
Now the next trip vlogs are going to be my birthday trip.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brendan's birthday's coming up, but
it's my big 30th.
Between now and then, we're going to have some fun around Orlando. So thank you so much, everybody, for just joining in on our live stream. We had a good time just, again, reminiscing on a trip that we technically had like a few weeks ago now at this point. But there it is. I finished editing it and uploading it. It was a lot of video to go through, and I'm glad that I did, because it's going to be fun to watch back in the future, as are all of our adventures on this channel. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and we will see you soon. I hope this was a new interesting software to use for editing. I think the quality is somewhat a little bit better than what I used before. Gonna work on the focus, but we'll see what that's like in the future. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day, and goodbye.
Bye.
Whoops.